is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Oprah because this is a story that, for whatever reason, you don't hear in the mainstream. Even when it went down about a decade ago, it didn't get a lot of press. Not as much press as it would if it was a Catholic priest or some type of Christian or supposed follower of Jesus Christ. No. And that, of course, is the allegations that her school in South Africa of child abuse and child molestation. And what a surprise, right? Because what follows these people around all over the place? Death and links to child abuse. Now, one of the things that's important to remember, and I've said this many times, but if you're new to the channel, I will re-emphasize this. What's important to remember about these people is that philanthropy is one of the main things that all of these Freemasons, it doesn't matter which or what secret society they're in, whether they're in some witch coven, whether they're a cult, they're flat out Satanists, they are taught to be philanthropists, which means to play the role of a philanthropist. For those of you that don't know, somebody who is a philanthropist is somebody who is very much into giving and giving to charities and running their own charities. Right? And that's why you see all these celebrities come out and always talk about their quote-unquote foundations. They all just happen to have foundations set up. They all work with charity. This is how they create this illusion around them that they are good people, that they care about others. Because then they could turn and point at you and say, what do you do? They could say, well, I personally have a cancer foundation. What have you done? A call for uprising, or what have you done, anybody out there? This is what I've done with my time. I've given back. I've made all this money and now we give back. It's all part of a sham. People who donate to these foundations, this money does not ever go to curing cancer. This money does not go to stopping child trafficking. If anything, the money goes to help it, or just continues to line the elite's pockets. Right? You see them throw these big galas that look like it cost $1 million. Oh, we're having this elegant gala for child trafficking. It's like, what did it cost? $2 million to run this event? So all the money that was donated just went to paying off the event, and nobody out there asks questions. They just go, what wonderful people. How dare you question these celebrities or these powerful people and what their intentions are? It's because they're taught this. I did heavy research on Skull and Bones. I read a few books about it. About that secret society at Yale, as well as others at Stanford and other, Ivy League schools around the country, which really, really emphasize to these minor, these are groups within secret societies, right? Skull and Bones is a huge group, a very powerful group, right? But they're they're a bit separate than from Freemasonry. It doesn't mean that the people in Skull and Bones hadn't gone through Freemasonry already or hadn't still become Freemasons. But they emphasize this. They demand it. So you see so many celebrities like Angelina Jolie, adopting kids in other countries. Oprah setting up schools. All these people, they're setting up schools in other countries. These are all fronts. Just like I talk about the fronts with child daycare centers and how they've always been fronts for trafficking. Why is nobody surprised that these other things are fronts for? You think that the trafficking just goes on in America? These pervs have fetishes for all different sorts of children in third world countries, poverty-stricken countries. So this story, which nobody talks about with Oprah Winfrey, is about her school that she funded in South Africa. The Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls. And you can, of course, see the logo. They kind of have the O shaped as an arch, right, which is another Masonic symbol, the arch. But you can see the sun behind it, some more sun worship. They always have these signs, these symbols, whether it's pyramid, sun, a phoenix, the all-seeing eye. We always see stuff with their logos. They tell you through their logos. That's why I always emphasize looking at this stuff, because you can see it. You can see these foundations that are set up. They're set up and organized by these people. So this story goes that one of the matrons at the facility was facing 13 charges, including indecent assault and inducing underage girls to perform indecent acts. Now, this school was said to be a $40 million complex and a gift to poor South African girls from Oprah, which opened in 2007, which was complete with a yoga studio and beauty salon. So, of course, they're implementing yoga and New Age this stuff, which is satanic at the core. A beauty salon. These girls need a beauty salon in South Africa. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? She initially had to defend the luxurious complex against certain accusations, but she defended the school in her typical heartwarming style, saying if you're surrounded by beautiful things and wonderful teachers who inspire you, the beauty brings out the beauty in you. Just more regurgitated crap that nobody can even, it's the same. Chase your dreams. People just say stuff. They don't even know what it means. But several months later, after opening, a dorm matron was arrested and accused of sexually abusing at least half a dozen 7th and 8th graders. Oprah was reportedly heartbroken. She cried for half an hour. She told reporters in a news conference after the matron's arrest, she accused school officials of covering up the scandal. They told the girls to put on happy faces, Winfrey said. So Oprah, of course, sided against the matron. But if you read between the lines and what ends up happening, it seems like these matrons and these people were hired to do this. Because remember, just like these daycare centers, right? They'll be working with elite secret societies and elite people and high-ranking government officials. And it'll just be some woman who has come through, the ranks as a witch, or, someone who has groomed children. And they become handlers for these kids and pretty much pimps for these children. So Oprah, of course, says, she was heartbroken. She dismissed the headmistress and promised to clean house at the academy. It says, but less than 2 years later, the dorm matron's trial was still pending. Several girls were suspended or expelled after accusations that they tried to force other students into sexual relationships with them. And then the original accusations begin to unravel. The next year, Oprah settled with the headmistress. So the headmistress, the one who was accused of all of these, rape or molestation and all that stuff, Oprah settled with her because she was accusing Oprah of defamation by suggesting that she knew about the dorm matron's actions. So Oprah ends up settling and paying this woman off. So that tells you, isn't that guilt right there? The matron is saying that Oprah knew all along what was going on and what was going on inside these dorms with these matrons. A few months after that, the dorm matron was acquitted of all charges. Of course she was acquitted. Because sometimes when stuff like this happens, people go, oh, well, it's a fake news story, even that this gets out. If 15 kids come out and say we were molested, they're going to have a hard time not having a trial with these kids having parents and stuff like that, just like McMartin. But what ends up happening? They twist the narrative, they turn the narrative, and what? They always get off. Just like the West Memphis 3 ended up getting their charges reversed. Just like the Oak Hill case. Right? All these kids are just making up stories of being molested. I mean, when I was in 8th grade, the last thing I was thinking about is making up a story about being molested. But they just like to make these stories up to twist it, and people go, kids lie, and at the end, it just gets buried. The matron told reporters that her life had been ruined. She was broke, unemployed, and said she didn't know if she could ever forgive Oprah, who continued to stand by the girl's accusations. The academy continues to operate. Oh, but wait, there's more. There's more. Of course there's more. So not just a school that has these allegations, and of course the woman gets acquitted, but you also have, in 2011, that a dead newborn was found at Oprah Winfrey School. That must be a coincidence as well, right? Knowing how they operate, knowing how child sacrifice, child abuse is the key to black magic, must be a coincidence. So children claim of abuse by the matrons. The matrons claim that Oprah knows of the abuse, and then cops probe a body of a dead newborn baby found on the school property a few years later. This all sounds normal, right? This is the kind of stuff going on at schools and academies, right? Just babies popping up dead. People, 7th graders claiming of child abuse. Happened at your public school when you were a kid? It says the baby's body was found in a bag. The 17-year-old girl brought to a hospital where she was being treated for excessive bleeding. And it's some type of scandal because the child brought the bag to school, and it's believed that the girl, who has not been identified, gave birth at the school. That sounds normal, right? Now, what do we know about this? Well, we know that when these women are impregnated by these cults and these covens, when the child is born, the child is immediately ritually sacrificed. If they're not doing an abortion ritual and taking it that way, if they're not grooming the child to be a certain age to be sacrificed, or to at least be tested to see if they want the child to actually grow up and become a witch or whatever herself, usually the child, if its goal is to be born to be sacrificed, when it's born as a newborn, they will sacrifice this child. So that's normal. The girl gave birth at the school. I mean, these are the kinds of stories that come out, right? These are the kinds of things that are connected. We're supposed to believe it's all a coincidence. You get the abuse, you get the newborn dead baby found at the school, and we're all supposed to just roll our eyes and be like, and there's nothing weird about that. Yeah, to those who aren't awake, those of us who are awake, we know exactly what's going on. That's not a coincidence. You kidding me? So the academy is still open. And what these places likely are fronts in other countries. Think they're going down there, Madonna and all these people, oh, they care so much about all these kids out there, creating this image of philanthropy and, oh, caring for the kids in other countries, and everybody just goes, oh, it's normal. Just like Woody Allen, right? With Woody Allen's marrying his own daughter, and it's no big deal. He's still celebrated in Hollywood. What a surprise, right? Now, if you look into Oprah's story, I mean, she's even claimed that she was sexually abused as a 9-year-old. She was raped. And then so does Tyler Perry, right? So what a like all this stuff just kind of hinders around these people. They're victims of abuse. And then they're spending time around all these children. And then stories come out at these academies or these places that these people spend a lot of time, that there's abuse involved and there's rape involved, but they're not directly connected. Is that a coincidence? Are we supposed to believe that, knowing how the occult operates? Knowing that they prey on children? Oprah claiming to be raped at 9. Tyler Perry raped at 9. Then you get, Oprah's relations with people like Eckhart Tolle, who pushed the New Age doctrine, which is satanic doctrine. Oprah's connection with Dr. Oz, who was getting people prepared to be chipped and telling them health. They've had this guy rolled out for years, giving people health advice, and people going, oh, he's the best. He's the best at health. He tells us what vitamins. Oh, we should eat kale. Everything's great. Oh, great, Dr. Oz. We all trust him now because he's been doing all. And then all of a sudden he goes, you should take the microchip. You won't get sick. It's like a grain of rice. Everybody goes, okay, Dr. Oz. If you say it's safe, I'll take it. Oprah is surrounded by all of these things that we see, that we know are agendas that the occult are pushing in, whether it's the microchip, whether it's having her academy down there as child sex, connections and child abuse connections, whether it's the It's Time movement she's behind now, involved in, with women's empowerment, right? Or Time's Up. I keep saying it's time. Time's Up. Apparently Time's Up for men. Sounds like a threat to me, but this is the stuff that's out there, folks. This is stuff they don't talk about. Why is it that we don't hear this stuff? Why don't we hear stuff about, well, Oprah, there are accusations that, because the woman was acquitted, we're not supposed to think that anything was going on. The woman was claiming that Oprah knew all along what was going on. Oprah even reached a settlement with the woman, and then, of course, the woman gets acquitted, just like all these other Satanists and occultists, because they can get away with this stuff. They always do. These child trafficking rings never get shut down. The stories you always hear, oh, Trump's busting. Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. They'll bust something that's small, that's for sure. That's not connected to them, because there are pedos and perverts out there that are into this stuff. There's no doubt about it. You don't just have to be a Satanist or a Mason to be some sick perv. Those people will get busted. Of course they will. They don't care about them. They're going to protect them. Isolated incidences. Because then it shines light on the stereotype they wanted to shine light on. They go, oh man, did you hear about these, this child abuse in this town, this guy, and they show this white trash looking guy who, looks like he is just drunk all the time and a slob and looks like a pervert. He's got a creepy mustache and all that stuff. And people always will then stereotype that. They'll stereotype what a pedophile is or what a pedophile looks like. They won't think Oprah, all these people are involved in this stuff because they don't believe in black magic. They don't believe in any of this stuff. They think it's not real. And again, the core of their teaching teaches that blood sacrifice, that specifically of a child, is the key of black magic, the purest form. And of course, pedophilia with these children and abuse. And this abuse runs rampant. And maybe Oprah was abused as a child. Because if she was, it's likely that her parents were involved. And remember, most of these people who are now controllers at some point were abused. And people always go, well, I feel so bad for them. Well, yeah, but you got to end the vicious cycle. God gave us free will. When these people who have been abused as children grow up and then they decide they're going to abuse kids themselves, there's a problem there. They need to break free from it, but they don't. And yes, mind control is involved in that, but they don't get a pass. They don't get sympathy, in a sense. I mean, I get where some people are coming from, but think about how Hollywood and all this stuff is set up. Most of these people are victims, become the handler, right? Because they're groomed into it. Oprah's just groomed into the system. Tyler Perry groomed into the system. Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, right? All these people who just grow up inside of this system and just become famous overnight. And then you have the other ones from the outside who just kind of become famous and then have death surrounding them, like Kanye West, like Bruno Mars, like Jennifer Hudson. They just become famous and then, oh yeah, my whole family was slaughtered. Bruno Mars, oh yeah, my mother was murdered. Same with Kanye, same with all of them. So there's the two perspectives of born into it, born into these secret societies with parents who are in it, and then these kids are abused, and then they grow up to become the abuser. Then the other side where somehow they get connected to what's going on and find all this stuff out, and they want to be a part of it. And then they ritually will sacrifice or offer their family members. Sometimes they'll just set them up, to be in a place at a certain time, and so the elites can have the person. Because remember, they control the news, they control and have control over the police force and all this stuff. And yeah, people will go, well, that sounds crazy. Well, it's true. So, they went off topic a bit, but this is Oprah. Here's a story here you don't hear about. Oprah would be the next president. Oh, it's so wonderful because she had a talk show. Don't mind the fact that she's involved in, running a school where child abuse allegations took place, and just because it was acquitted, I mean, give me a break. We're supposed to just think that kids again have come forward and made this stuff up. How many times are we supposed to fall for this act? How many times are we supposed to be told that, oh yeah, the kids just made the story up? That's just what they tell you every time. Oh yeah, no, they just made it up. Why would they make it up? What good would come of it for them? Imagine how embarrassed they are at that age. I mean, remember when we were all in 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade? That's like the time, I mean, you're embarrassed to even fart in front of somebody. You're just going through puberty, you're learning about girls, you're learning about boys. I mean, everybody's shy. The first thing they want to do is come forward and say that this adult, did something they can't even describe to them because they don't even know about sex yet. But that's what they'll always push. So Oprah, of course, has this story that no one will really talk about connected to her, which has never gotten any press. Most people don't know anything about it. And conveniently, with the philanthropy, they continue to run these organizations, just like the Clinton Foundation, right? They have these child trafficking organizations, which people go, oh yeah, it prevents it. Yeah, sure it does. Sure it does. Now, is it a coincidence? I think not. So again, pray for these kids. They're all constantly being preyed on by these people. There's constantly connections to these people. And then, of course, they make themselves the victims a lot of the times. So that you would never think that they would be doing it, right? That's how mind control works, folks. That's how they keep you trapped. Philanthropy, making themselves the victims, right? Always the victim. It sounds familiar, like certain people who like matzo ball soup. Always the victim, always the victim. Always bringing something up. If you bring up something that would be deemed controversial about what they teach, it's oh, but we've been poor us. Yep. That's how it always is. People are afraid to go after people. People are afraid to call people out on stuff. But all you got to do is connect the dots because they're there for you to see. So this is Oprah with her story of child trafficking or not trafficking, child abuse allegations at her school. Her school's still up and running. The woman's acquitted, but the matron, of course, saying Oprah knew about it all along. Yeah, must be another one coincidence. Just like McMartin, right? Just like Oak Hill, right? Acquit the people, reverse the decisions on these people, let them run free. It's amazing. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.